Hey guys, in this video, I'll be using Process Monitor to analyze this Trojan, which is called TJ1 that I've downloaded from Malware Bazaar. So to start off with our analysis, we will be opening up Process Monitor using our admin credentials, and then the aim of this video is to see what can Process Monitor do when it comes to Trojan. Now that it has been a few minutes, I will pause the capture and we will start our analyzing using Process Monitor. So as you may know, it's important with Process Monitor to use as much as possible with the filter functions because it helps dive down to what our malware is trying to do. So what I'm going to do now is go to filter and go to process name and find our malware samples, which is tj1.exe. As you can see here, we'll add it there and apply. Therefore, it shows what this um, malware was trying to do. First of all, we notice that it labeled as a PDF file with Adobe icon. However, it's actually an exe file. And if you look at the process tree, if you drag this a bit, as you can see, our malware attempts to install a file name um, called eset.exe into a startup folder. Uh, this suggests that the malware is trying to achieve persistence by ensuring it runs every time the system starts. So if we look further, it also has this um, regasm.exe. So this legitimate tool is likely being used by the Trojan to register malicious components, potentially .NET assemblies, to blend in with regular system activities. And this conhost.exe, which is commonly used to handle console windows anyway. Okay, so after that, so what we're gonna do is to apply our filters by going to add each PID, which is process identifier, for this executed files to see what it was trying to its activities. So let's go with our um, reg.asm.exe, see what it's trying to do there. So is so our process identifier for that is 2608. Okay, so we're gonna add that and see what it's trying to do. So in this executable file, we can see that there's a lot of file creation and image were activities were executed. So therefore, I will go to operation and look for what sort of activities it was trying to do with um, files when it comes to uh, files. So I'll just contain file, uh, file, and see what it was trying to do. Let's see if there's any suspicious activity in this file. Okay. There's a lot of file creation. From what I can see, the malware is trying to. From what I can see, the malware also perform a query network open information files operation, which is used to gather file information and list the contents of directories. This is consistent with the malware scanning the system for specific browser related data directories. So what it means is like these operations suggest that the malware is not looking for specific files, but also checking if these directories contain value data it can be exploited. So a bit of the summary here, the reg ASM is attempting to locate user data directories for a variety of browsers. It fails to find many of them, indicating those browsers are not installed. However, for certain browsers like Chrome, it successfully accesses the user data directory, and the purpose of these actions is likely to gather some restricted information stored by the browsers, such as login credentials and browsing history for malicious use. In a simpler term, we can say that the malware is scanning for the system for installed browsers and trying to access their user data. When it fails to find many browsers, it successfully accesses Chrome, which it may now be able to still use the data from it. Moving on to our analysis with this executable file, I can see that the malware here is trying to access a lot of browsers such as Flock or Falcons, but it was not successful because Falcon and Flock browsers were not installed on our system. So a bit of context here is that Falcon is a lesser known open source browser. Despite its smaller user base, the malware targeted to maximize its reach in stealing information from various browsers. By attempting to access Falcon, the malware shows its intention to search all possible browsers for valuable information, even if they are not mainstream, such as Chrome or Microsoft Edge. And then it's moving on to the second one here. It also looking for Flock. A bit of explanation here is that the malware successfully was not so successfully to access this Flock browser in the folders because it was not installed. But the reason it goes to profiles.ini is that it was trying to create and manipulate the file which store user profiles and configuration for the browser. So if they can access and modify that, it could potentially monitor our browser activity or compromise the browser settings. And moving on here, we can see that the malware tried to access registry key related to Outlook profile, but it's returned name not found. It's because the malware is scanning for Outlook version to steal email account information or messages. Since it didn't find any registry keys, it suggests that Outlook is either not installed or the specific version is not it's looking for is not present. In a simple explanation, I can see that a bit of this behavior here, the malware is scanning the system for specific apps like browsers and email clients to steal sensitive data such as users' profiles, browsing history, and potentially email information. It also checks if these apps or files exist on the system. When it doesn't find them, it moves on to other targets when it does find them. It attempts to access or manipulate their data, potentially for malicious purposes. Next, from what I can see, it seems like our malware is trying to connect to an external server. So um, to analyze this further, we can just go to our filter and go to operations, which is contains TCP. The reason I choose that is because it's easier to check what sort of action it was trying to do um, in terms of network communication between our malware and its external network, so or servers. So I'll add that and apply. So as you can see here, it was connecting to this remote servers, which is show success return in successful result. In this case, we'll break down the network activity. So first of all, it's indicated our malware successfully established a TCP connection with an external server. So the IP address that is shown in the path here suggests that it's connected to a remote host, and then it's also send data to that remote server. So the detail that the length is like 80, I think it was shows like 80 byte here. Provide some insight into a volume of data initially sent. And then if we go down to TCP received, the we can demonstrate that the malware here, the Trojan, received data back from the remote server, which is around 175 bytes, which might include comments, additional malware payloads, or configuration data from the command and control server. And lastly, the closure of the TCP connection, which might signify the end of this particular communication. So overall, what the malware is likely doing here is that it's disguise itself as a regasm.exe, likely communicating with command and control server, and this is common behavior for malware to report back to its central server for further instructions to exfiltrate stolen data or to receive additional malicious payloads. Lastly, from our process monitor analysis of this Trojan TJ1, here's a clear, straightforward summary that I've discovered. So, first of all, it's the malware initially appears as a harmless PDF file, launch itself, and then spawns a series of subprocesses, including like PowerShell, conhost, and regASM. So these processes are tasked with various activities from setting up the malware persistence on the system to conduct potentially harmful operations. So like PowerShell is heavily utilized to automate the creation and modification of the scripts in dedicated non-interactive startup folder. This indicates an intention to ensure these scripts run automatically in the background, facilitating persistent in an unattended operation by the malware. And notably, this regASM.exe also engage in network comms communication, connecting to external servers and exchanging data. So I think that this behavior is typically a common and controlled interactions where malware will be sending out collective data or receiving comments from the remote attacker. Um, Last but not least, the malware actively seeks modified system files and registry settings to guarantee it activates upon system startup to potentially lower the system security defenses. So it specifically targets data from browsers such as Fog, Edge, Chromes, and email clients, likely aiming to capture all the confidentials like passwords and browsing history. So from what I can see with the use of Procmon, um, the the Trojan cleverly used legitimate system utilized such as regASM.exe to carry out its objective, which help blend in normal system operation, make it harder to detect and remove. So my impression here is that this Trojan design with a secure, strong position within an infected system. So our finding emphasized the importance of continuous monitoring and robust security practices to identify and counter such sophisticated malware threats effectively.